Sorry, I just need to. Those of you noisy dance here. Okay. So, what did we have on Friday?
Can you test if it's working? Perfect.
Thanks a lot. So, what did we have on Friday?
Last day of the week.
Black Friday. Consumption.
And that's the thing. At first, it was Black Friday. Now it's Red Thursday, Black Friday weekend, Cyber Monday, Cyber Week. It just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And for some people, better and better too, right? Just depending on
I save a lot of money.
how much. Yeah.
I didn't buy anything.
That's in that sense, I saved a lot of money too. I saved all the money possible. So, and again, today we are here not to criticize or condemn or be moralists about people who buy or don't buy. That's not even our business. What we're here to do today is to reflect, to interact, to talk about, is there a purpose for buying things? Should we just ignore material things because that's the spiritual thing to do? Should we just buy things because after all we work, we're entitled to have some comforts, right? Why not? So what's the spiritist view of consumption? Okay? Of buying. So as immortal spirits, we know that our objective here is to evolve. And what do we do to get there? We develop our virtues. Yay! Let's wake up. So we are here to evolve through the development of our virtues. The better people we become, the more evolved we are. Logical, correct? But many times we forget that we are immortal spirits. We only remember we are physical human beings in this body with so many needs. We have so many crazy needs. And we forget about the immortal spirit part. We forget about the spiritual part. So today, what we're here to reflect is exactly about that. And what proves to me that I am evolving? How do I know? How do I know if I'm evolving?
When you have the final judge when you arrive upstairs.
Actually, there's a way of knowing still here in the body, still here on earth, incarnated, with flesh and blood. How do we know if we are on the right path?
If you follow the divine laws.
Yes. And the divine laws will actually lead us in the direction of material detachment, not in the sense of I don't want or I don't need or material things are bad. In the sense of detachment from our attachment to material things. I need a computer, right? Does it have to be a Mac? Because it's ridiculously expensive and it's a very exclusive brand. So we need to detach from our attachment. What we need, we need. But do we need to love the thing? And that's how I know I am developing my virtues. That's how I know I am evolving. Because things that maybe in the past or a matter of life and death for me. I have to have that brand of car. I have to have that brand of makeup or shoe or whatever. Now, I need a car, I need a computer, I need some makeup. Does it have to be that brand? Does it have to be the one that everybody has, or the one that nobody has? So I need it. And that's how we know those things that might have mattered once are not that important anymore. And that's how I know I'm on the right path. See? It's a good one. And nowadays, we see greed everywhere. Must have, needed. Even in schools and at home with kids, we do that too. Because we tell our kids, and schools, universities, whatever level of school, we tell kids that they have to be successful, and success is measured by how much money you make, status, how many titles you have after your name, right? Nowadays, resumes, business cards, how many titles do I have after my name? That's success. How much money you make, how important you are, how famous you are. And you can only achieve that if you go to this and that university, if you go to this and that school. That's the only way you'll have a chance of being successful. We and schools are in that mix too. We've been doing that too. We've been telling our kids that success is making money, being important, having titles, going to that university. That's what's going to make you important and happy. And then when we or our children or whoever gets there, we still have the same problems. Sometimes we have more because we have a status to keep.
And you have still the loan to pay.
Yes. So you have loans to pay, and you're still not happy. Where is that promised happiness that, the so-called success would bring me? It's still not there. Right? Because we're looking for it in the wrong place.
But I do think, and I like to do this comparison sometimes, so forgive me, that here things are way better in terms of education than it is back in Brazil, because there are so many more options available for the students, and you see that there's not like life school. Parents are not forcing a little guy to be either engineer, a doctor, lawyer, or whatever. Like,
there are still some traditional families that do it, but it's getting better and better and better with time. I agree.
It's such a freedom.
And it's completely different
what your skills are, what makes you
from
happy. And that's it. So I think like the school progress and the pattern goes towards like checking what the
more
kids
humanized
good at.
environment.
Yeah, definitely. And I am happy in that sense that my children have so many more options to choose from, and there is not that status so much. It's not related,
the competition
as back home.
Mm-hmm.
But like if back in Brazil, if you decide to study education, for instance, or I don't know, phys ed, people will just think, oh, it's not bright enough, or doesn't want to go through some competition, whatever it is, to get up there.
Yes.
As if there is better and worse.
I have a cousin who she did phys ed at university, and she went up to, it was 8 semesters, she went up to the 7th semester. And then she got tired of everybody telling her she was never going to make money, and she was never going to be successful, and she was always going to be a nobody. She dropped. She dropped out after 3 years and a half. Interestingly enough, guess who's paying? Not her, of course. So it's easy, right, to quit, drop things when you're not the one paying for it. But anyway,
But that's very symbolic, saying you're gonna be a nobody.
it
As
is.
if you're
It
either
is.
a thing, nobody, or to be somebody, you need to have some other stuff.
Yes. And you know, the whole incentive for competition in schools, and you know, which one is better than the other, and it's just crazy. And it's something that sometimes we don't realize, but again, we're in the mix, right? I, for one, before I moved anywhere after my separation, first thing I had to do was check the ranking of the schools in Calgary. Because I want my kids to go to the best one. See how that's in our minds? I was a teacher. I know. It's not about the school, it's about the person. Right? So, but that is something that is ingrained in our brains. It has been drilled in our brains. And this is why we are here to reflect. Because if we just put in auto and go, we're going to keep making the same mistakes, right? We're going to keep, you know, in a hamster wheel. We're going to, you know, run, and not go anywhere. And that's why we need to reflect about what we're doing. Reflect on what we're doing. So we stop the vicious cycle there. So to talk about that, there's a passage from Matthew's where Jesus says, I need to switch here, I need to switch there. I'm so confused.
Just 2 clicks.
Yeah. I don't know which one to do first. So in Matthew chapter 6, verse 25, Jesus says, therefore I say to you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or what you will drink, nor about your body, what you will put on. Is not life more than food, and the body more than clothing? Is Jesus saying we have to be walking around naked and picking berries from the bushes? No, it's not what he means. That would be a very simplistic interpretation. He's not talking about this. He's inviting us to material detachment. He's inviting us not to make this the center of our lives. Not to live for what I eat. Not to live for what I'm going to wear. Not to live for what car I'm going to buy. That's what he is inviting us to do. Material detachment. We are immortal spirits, but many times we don't behave like immortal spirits. We behave like material beings that are here only now, and we have to enjoy. And we have to enjoy everything, and it has to be fast and furious, or it's not worth it, because life is short. Let's enjoy it.
I think that is, in my opinion, it's not completely true. And the reason why is
What's not?
different that things, we can apply to our lives on this 21st century on different things. Okay, and that's where I think it's kind of outdated. And the reason why is you cannot live like you live on time of Jesus without working. Okay, you can't. It's impossible.
And nobody's saying that you should.
Okay, so you cannot live without making money. We cannot live without making money to buy a house or to rent a house or to pay for your house.
You need somewhere to live.
You need somewhere to live. You need somewhere to clothe. You need somewhere to walk. You need somewhere to be detached. Because yes, if you tell, oh, but you only need, like, for example, $1,000 per month, that is enough for your food, your clothing, and your house. But what are you going to do with the rest? Are you staying at home? Because everything else costs money. You want to go to the movie, and okay, you can be selfish, say, no, I'm not going to the movie because I want to do a simple life, or I want to do this. I don't see that on that perspective?
We are talking about two extremes here. We're talking about two extremes.
I'm thinking more like,
Living for consumption, for like consumerism.
yeah,
The negative way of saying consumerism, buying for buying, and a false detachment. The whole, I'm not going to spend money, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I don't need it. The whole denying that we need or deserve material comforts, those are two extremes. And what we're going to reflect here is how to get to the balance, how to get to the middle. Because that's another extreme.
Because
No
that's-
buying, no spending, I can't, I shouldn't.
that is
That's an extreme.
what every single one is telling. Why buy a car of $100,000 when the simple car that does the same costs $10,000?
It depends on what you call do the same. And those are personal choices. That's something nobody can
But
tell
this
you
is
you're
what
right
we're
or
talking
wrong.
about.
How it makes you feel afterwards is gonna tell you. Do you still feel frustrated, or do you feel not you, Marcos? We.
No.
After buying whatever, and it can be something from a dollar store. The value is not the point. It's how we feel. We're gonna talk about that too. Like after that, do I feel like I accomplished a mission and that's gonna serve a certain purpose in my life? I'm satisfied with that. Super. But I think we all know some people that the second after they buy, they regret and they feel guilty. And it can be something from the dollar store.
Or they
Because
want
it's
something
not.
else.
Because it's not about the amount you spend. It's about the reason why you're buying that.
But even this society has a kind of...
How can, if I want to camp, or if I need to haul like a little trailer for work, how can I go and buy a bill? It doesn't make sense. So
It's
things
not what
have to
I'm
make
saying.
sense.
What I'm saying is this society has these kind of things like, if you are rich, you are on sin.
No.
It's what I
First
heard.
of all, in Spiritism,
It's like, I see,
there's no.
it's the way that
the
you
word-
see, because you can be rich, filthy rich, and be humble with it.
Yes. Do you know where the word sin comes from? The real meaning of the word sin, I can't say in English, but in Latin, that it comes from pecado. In Latin, the word actually originally means to miss the target. When you aim for something and you miss the target. And that's why Jesus used to say to people, your faith saved you. Go and sin no more. He's not saying don't do anything wrong anymore. He's saying don't miss the target. Go for a target. So that's the meaning of sin. But through centuries, we transformed into something morally wrong. We changed the meaning that Jesus used originally. So first of all, in Spiritism, we're not talking about sin as something morally wrong. It's just the idea of missing the target. We're gonna talk a whole more about this, and we have so many slides and stuff to go through. Oh, yeah, of course, changing here doesn't change that. Okay, so what we're gonna see now, it's just to give us an idea. When we talk about buying compulsion, there isn't just yes or no, black and white. It's a scale. And we can all be there somewhere in the scale, from light to extreme. So what we're gonna see now are some signs that we might have some kind of buying compulsion. Yeah, there. Oh boy. So signs of compulsiveness. When we worry excessively about buying, we're thinking about that all the time. Emotional spending. I'm frustrated, I need to buy something. That makes me feel better. For about 10 seconds. Then I'm frustrated again. I'm angry, I'm mad at my husband because he was mean to me. I'll go and I'll spend money. 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh, now I have to explain myself.
What do you mean by worry excessively about buying?
Thinking about that, for example, Black Friday. I need to look at all the deals. I need to see if there's something that I can afford or that I could possibly use because it's a good price. Something that I wouldn't buy otherwise, but because it's Black Friday, I gotta see. It's like, it's a thought in your mind.
Okay.
Thinking about buying too much. Buy unnecessary items or large quantity. Oh, great sale. Spend more money and time than anticipated. Oh, I'm just gonna stop at the mall. I'm gonna buy one pair of pants and I'm gone. Yeah, $300 and 4 hours later, I'm leaving the mall. Feel guilty after spending money. The moment I buy, I'm like, dang, I should have done that. And sometimes go back to return it. Or spend time thinking of ways to replace the money. Okay, I spent, it's done. Can I do anything extra? Can I, yeah, can I get an extra shift? Can I work overtime? How can I do this? Can I save on groceries to cover that bill? Spend more money than we make. Big sign that we might be buying a bit too much. Loan money to pay the debts, right? I spend and I need the bank to help me pay it off, and then I need to pay off the bank, and then I keep spending, and
Or you leave a big balance in the credit card and you pay
right?
the amount.
Yes, pay the minimum for, I don't know, however many years, and that's why banks are rich. Lie to hide the purchases or the debt. Hide those shoes in the closet. Have a separate credit card so the husband or wife won't see it. That is so common. That is so common.
I never thought about it.
And suffering emotional distress. Like when it causes, like within the family or workplace or friends or your social life, when it causes people to come to you and confront you about your spending, that's causing emotional distress.
And if you
because you have to justify yourself to family, to friends, or whomever. Because they can see you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. They try to help, but that ends up in the person feeling very distressed because now they have to justify themselves. And mainly when we know we're wrong, it's hard to justify ourselves. We can find excuses, but they're not good reasons. They're not reasons, they're just excuses.
And if you think about that and you replace the purchase in the object for a drug addiction, it's exactly the same. It is exactly. So it's pretty much a compulsive behavior. It is an addiction.
Yes.
By the minute you get it, you don't satisfy yourself by the object itself, but it's the whole process of thinking about getting it.
And
When you
then
get
you
it,
return it,
and
you're still out, you're already thinking what you're gonna do with the money you got back.
and then you're thinking about your next.
Yes.
The next accomplishment. So
Yeah.
it's
And when you
totally
return,
out of
what can I do with
control.
that money now?
And then all like the suffering and facing the family and hiding and making it look not as bad. And like I
Exactly.
didn't drink a whole 6-pack, I just drank one. The other ones were not me.
Yeah.
So it's just
It's an addiction just like any other. And interesting that you mentioned that. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So according to neuropsychologist Daniel Fuentes, coordinator of learning and research at the Clinic of Pathological Gambling and Other Compulsive Disorders, AMJO in Portuguese, from Hospital das Clínicas in São Paulo. In clinical samples, there is an average of 4 women to 1 man with the disorder. Specialists still don't know why oniomania, which is the name of compulsion for buying, is more common in women, but they believe the reason is directly related to cultural conditions, the whole culture of beauty, the whole culture that women have to be fit, well-dressed, all made up, dollied up, all these things might be connected. They can't be sure, but they do believe it's directly connected to that because of the expectation society has for women in general. Look young, beauty treatments, and all that kind of stuff.
Everything up.
Yes, everything up. Let's defy the law of gravity, right? So, now, do you think this tends to get better or worse in the near future?
Worse.
I hope it gets better because we
In the
are
near future.
transitioning.
The keyword here is near future.
Worse.
Yes.
I think it's alright. It got worse.
No.
Oh, I think it's gonna get even worse, or as my kids would say, worser. They love to butcher English. So, yeah, it is. It's gonna get worse before it gets better. Again, we know the planet is transitioning into a more evolved stage as a planet. But until we get there, this consumerism thing, that's a huge test for us. Huge. It's a huge thing because we are surrounded by it. We are immersed in it. We can't live as a hermit in the mountains in a cave. We are within the society, and we have to live within the society. We can choose how we do it, but we can't just move away from this, right? We have to face the society we're in. But it will get better because we as a humanity are evolving as well. We just need to brace for impact in the next near future and work on what we can. Can we change society?
No.
But as a whole, can we change society?
By changing ourselves.
The only thing we can do is change ourselves. And then by more people changing themselves, we will be changing the collective. But we can't change the collective from the outside. I can't fix what's out there. I can fix what's in here. And the more people fix what's in here, we're going to make our collective better. We can't have a better society without better individuals. And the only power we have is to be better individuals. Okay, so now we are going to, where am I here? Yeah. So now we're going to read, forgot to bring. We're going to read a message. This whole talk is based on one message from the book Dias Felizes, Happy Days, from Spirit Honório, and it was dictated to Afro Stefanini from Project Spiritizar. And it's a message called Consumption and its Purpose. It's a very deep message. It's fairly complicated Portuguese. In return, it's going to be fairly complicated English. Bear with me, we'll get there. So let's read it. There? Yeah. And here? Yeah. So, the Caesars, and here we're talking Hail Caesar, not Caesar salad. The Caesars of the past received the laurels, os louros da glória, of victory over the bodies of the conquered peoples, sobre os corpos, os cadáveres dos povos conquistados, singing the glories of ephemeral power in the turquoise blue sky of Italy. Ephemeral means temporary, quick to go, because their power lasted how long?
The lifetime.
Centuries. It lasted a few centuries.
Yeah.
What is a few centuries compared to eternity? It might sound like a lot, but compared to eternity, it's nothing. So it was ephemeral power because it didn't last that long. Oh. No. There. Victimizing countless conquered people with the weight of their weapons and their army brutally trained for killing. they received the approving cheering of the population, there's a missing, sorry, that contributed to the licentiousness and the evident crime in the old house of the world power that was the insulting Roman capital. Well, we can see that spiritual knowledge doesn't take much of the Roman Empire, right?
Yeah.
So that's what they did. They conquered the people and they sang their laurels over the dead bodies. And whoever survived was only there to serve them. That's what we're going to say. The threats that emerged in I can't do two things at the same time.
And then they say that the women are multitask.
I might be an exception. Okay. Or maybe I'm a multitasker, but technology challenged. Can we try and?
Yeah.
It's an excuse, but
Exactly.
yeah.
That's okay. Move on.
Right. So, the threats that emerged in the core, no centro, of the empire were destined to absorb the most ethical habits of the old opulent city. So here they are talking about, well, I'll finish the paragraph and then it's going to be easier. Habits based on respect to family and to the traditions of the sacred Roman law. So in the beginning, the Roman Empire had ethics. We all know about Roman law. That's what everybody still studies in law school, right? Thousands of years later. And they had a very heavy value on family and family values and ethics. But because of exactly what we're going to see here, because of consumerism, because of how easy it was to conquer other people and take whatever they wanted, those ethical values were consumed, were absorbed, were corroded, and went away. Please. Thank you. Nowadays, we see the same pictures repeating themselves in close relation to the past. Millions of people suffer due to the financial conquests of a few countries, which produces a terrifying picture of the so-called globalization of the economy. A subtle and exploratory monopoly of certain industries over poor countries, forcing people to maintain their economy through exploratory, inhuman, slave-like, and sometimes genocidal work. We like to ignore. In Brazil, we have this new expression, mimimi. Do you know that one, Ben? No. You know all those activists, PETA or Greenpeace or whatever, activists that want to boycott a certain brand for using child work or slavery work in poor countries or whatever, for famous brands. So here's the thing. I want to buy from the Gap, but the Gap uses slave kids in, I can't remember what country it is. Just for the sake of argument, let's say India. But I want to buy the Gap. But I know they do that. So I'm going to say that this is all me. It's just like, oh, you know, cry baby. Like, no big deal. I'm sure they don't. I'm just going to buy it. Because I want that brand. So even if they are not ethical, I'm still going to consume it. And I'm going to completely disregard all the reports, all the media, all the proofs that I have that they do unethical things. I'm going to disregard that because I want the brand. And I'm sorry about picking on the Gap. It was just an example. Okay?
Sarah,
Zara, yeah. There are so many examples. So many examples.
The thing is,
And it's not just clothing, it's a lot of different things.
That's the thing that we were discussing this other day. It's like, okay, we don't agree with that. But if we starting to search all of those brands that does that, we might be naked.
No, we won't. We just might
Or-
have to pay more money for something that is
Exactly.
produced in our
Or
country.
we're going to Louis Vuitton that I can only buy a purse and be naked as well.
No thanks. If Louis Vuitton, Marc Jacobs, all those guys, if they depended on me, they would starve. Poor things.
No, it's like if we're doing all of these things, it's like we know that is wrong,
But if
but
we
sometimes
don't,
we don't have the money.
but if we don't, aren't we just hiding behind something? I'm not looking because I don't want to see what's there.
But what you
Isn't
can do?
it as bad?
It is bad. We know that we are somehow we are supporting that, because if we buy those products,
Well, not somehow,
we are
fully supported.
we are continuing supporting those things, but sometimes we don't have any other option.
Well,
Buy less. We have to look for options. Buy
does this
less.
not go back to what you were saying before, which is that to change society, you start with changing with your own behavior?
Yes.
If you insisted on buying things that were ethically produced, regardless of what other people were doing, if more people started doing that, that would exert economic pressure on these companies.
Yeah, but
And all they would have to do
That's
is
how
charge
Gandhi-
another $5 for a shirt.
That's how
Right.
Gandhi got India to be free from England.
the
By
thing
not producing. What England was doing was they made Indians produce the fabric that made the clothes that they had to buy back themselves. So through civil disobedience, Gandhi said, we don't do that anymore. What families will do is they will go back to their back rooms and they're gonna get, oh my gosh, I don't know how to say, what's called the machine that you use to thread fabric?
A loom. A loom?
Loom?
Yeah.
So old families used to thread their own clothes in a loom. So he said, go back to your back room, all the old families, get your loom and you make your own clothes. And that's how he proved to England that India still had a soul, that they didn't have to do what they were told because that was oppression. Because England was making them work in slave-like conditions to buy back this stuff. They were producing themselves for much more after. They were feeding England with money. When they stopped, England had to go somewhere else. So that's exactly what you're saying. If more individuals start doing it, and Gabriela also talked about buy less, consume less. If something is more expensive than I can pay, I will buy less of that and maybe be less wasteful. We live in a society that is very wasteful. We're going to talk about that as well.
I agree with you, but the thing is, like, I'll give you an example. 2 seconds.
Yeah.
We're coming for Christmas or reaching Christmas. A normal turkey costs $1 out. If you're going on those kind of things, okay, a turkey that is organic, that stays on the field, that you, whatever it is, and all of that, costs $45 pound. If you want to feed your family, it's like you can buy 45 turkeys, okay, or you can buy only one. There are families that are not able
Let's
to
talk
buy
about our
turkeys.
eating habits. Every time we have a party, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever, how much food do we make? How much do we eat? How much is left over? And how much goes to the garbage?
And it's like, sorry, no, that's okay. And in addition to that, we have a really small family, especially here in Calgary. I'm from Brazil, but he's from here. And basically my family is his family, but we're gonna do something like on our side and on his side. And my whole life, I grew up having turkey because I had a huge family in Brazil. So this year we were thinking like, oh, I need a turkey. And we're like, no, we don't need a turkey. Like, it's a Christmas like thing. But like, my Christmas won't be different, or I won't be unhappy or less happy because I don't have like a turkey. We're gonna buy a hen. We're gonna buy something else. We like all we want is to get together.
But you
Maybe
think the
trade
M is
together
coming from?
and
It's like the
just
same
and just to stay together. And like, but
Well-
I do respect like whatever thinking or other people think. But I think that sometimes it's just like a small change inside ourselves that we have to make like a baby step or like something that
Yeah.
we don't need.
And it's something
it.
very personal. It's
It's
something
very
very
personal.
personal that
I
everybody
agree with you,
does.
but the problem that you are facing right now.
Yes. We can talk about that lots out there. Please. No, your clicker doesn't change my computer, Marcos. Not worry, it's not worry.
They can be there, they just tap on my head. I can decide.
They are the same claws of the imperial eagle, and this is the symbol of the Roman Empire is an eagle. They are the same claws of the imperial eagle of the past, tearing the womb, o ventre, of human dignity in order to offer the mortal remains of the defeated and humiliated people to the vultures, para os urubus, os abutres, of inferior interests. Malnourished children, women, and men accepting their daily bread under miserable conditions. However, the pillars of such regrettable picture are way beyond the walls of illegal factories. Through the distortion of the natural law of conservation, man abuses their ability to gather only what they need, and every day they create countless products resulting from the excess and greed, and which promote the sustenance of the pro-slavery interests of exploratory industries and corporations. The more we consume, the more we need, the more people we need to produce that, and it's going to be cheaper because people need to consume. If it's expensive, we're not going to consume. It's got to be cheap. It's got to be new. It's got to be different, and it's a vicious cycle, and it's never ending. The marketing of disposable life with its frenzied brands and filled with misconceptions of goodness and beauty becomes the borderless religion that sells values, virtues, solutions, and salvations to all sorts of problems. That is so deep. That is so deep. Because the concept, again, when we're talking about maybe the fact that women consuming more is connected to cultural issues, cultural behaviors. So the misconceptions of goodness and beauty. And it is a world, it's borderless religion. It's a world religion. Buying is a world religion. International brands, Apple, Microsoft, Gap, Louis Vuitton, Marc Jacobs. Some brands are worldly, widely known, and desirable. From the terrible messages of consumerism, the illegal products, to the ones that are apparently harmless in nature, that promotes the beauty from the shop windows at any cost, there is the off-balance and unbalancing appeal. Off-balance because it's not centered, and unbalancing because it throws us off balance. So the thing is not balanced, and the thing itself throws us off balance because we want it, we need it. So there is the off-balance and unbalancing appeal of the message that hypnotizes the millions of minds of those who keep their interests fixed on a material life, seduced by something that will soon be discarded for the next, more seductive appeal. I buy an iPhone. Next year, there's a newer, better one. I don't like this anymore. I'm gonna sell it on Kijiji and buy the new one. Who cares that I'm losing money with my phone company because I signed a 2-year contract? I need the new one. And everything is disposable. Everything is disposable. We always want the newer, better version because we're falling behind everybody else. The existential purpose of consumption is the maintenance of the spiritual life in the body with evolutionary purpose. More than acquiring belongings, the human being must acquire the means to the evolutionary opportunity that material comforts can provide. Nobody's saying we shouldn't have comforts. The problem is not in the comfort. The problem is in the excess and what that brings us. Undoubtedly, material progress is within the divine laws and corroborates God's will. That does not mean to say that abusing how easily material things can be acquired is in agreement with the law of progress. So we need it, but how much of it do we need? Right? And what is that causing us? Just a simple example. For example, travel. I need to travel. I live to travel. Travel, 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 travel. I work like crazy so I can get money to travel. That's all I do in my life. What am I doing with my extra time? I'm either working like crazy, ignoring maybe family, friends, and sometimes even our bodily needs. We work ourselves to exhaustion to get the money. Or when we're not doing that, we are wherever we're going to be with our feet up. I don't want to think about anything. I just want to enjoy this. How much time are we spending on our own evolution, on reflecting on our actions, on trying to improve our conditions of living, not the material conditions, but the psychological material, the psychological conditions? Are we trying to be happier through developing our virtues? Are we trying to solve our problems from within instead of running away from them, either at work or traveling or doing whatever? The essential purpose of consumption is, the essential purpose of consumption is the maintenance of the spiritual life in the body with evolutionary purpose.
You are.
The existential purpose of consumption is the maintenance of the spiritual life
But
in
you
the
already
body.
wrote. You already wrote.
We did?
Yes.
Oh yeah, we did. So next. There. If science has advanced, it's because you clicked, but I did. If science has advanced in researches and inventions that bring an almost endless array of possibilities, uma gama de possibilidades quase infinita, to live in complete material well-being, we must understand that all this has an objective: diminish the material obstacles that complicate the human being's task of occupying their time using their intelligence fully, deeply, and properly. All the facilities we have nowadays, now in the past, a lot of jobs were very physical. We had to get up, we had to do so many things that nowadays we don't. Nowadays we have so many material comforts. And the time we save through these material comforts, they are supposed to be used to use our intelligence fully, deeply, and properly. Right? Nobody's saying I can't put my feet up and listen to some music, but is that all I do? Balance, right? Deepening Jesus' message when he says, we must render therefore to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God, the things that are God's, we will understand fully and responsibly this statement the moment we give material comforts their fundamental purpose: contribute to the spiritualization of the intelligence, softening the difficulties of material life in order to support spiritual evolution of humankind on earth. They are a tool for us to get to our objective, not the objective itself. And that's how society in general has been treating material things. Society has been treating material things as the objective. They're not. They're the means to get to the real objective, our evolution, which will lead us to happiness. So the purpose of consumption based on the existential purpose. So, yeah, sorry, this is in Portuguese, but I'll translate. It was a picture, I couldn't replace the words. So, our existential purpose. What is our existential purpose? Happiness. Happiness. I would say that's our final destination. Our existential purpose is what we are here to do this particular incarnation. It's usually connected, we've seen that before, and it's usually connected to developing one or two virtues a bit more intensely. All the virtues are connected. You can just develop, humbleness without touching meekness. They are all connected, but we are here to develop one or two a lot more intensely than others. So let's suppose my existential purpose is to develop humbleness. Let's use humbleness. Now, I will develop that virtue in different areas. I will have tests, I will have trials that will give me the opportunity to develop humbleness within my family, within my work, within social relations, friends, or whatever, personal opportunities to develop humbleness. So I will have opportunities in all of that. However, all of these opportunities are circumstantial. All the opportunities I have, they're circumstantial. They will come and pass. The opportunities, am I taking advantage of the opportunity or not? So money is an opportunity to develop humbleness. So am I using the opportunity to develop the virtue, or am I abusing the money and not developing the virtue I was here to develop? So everything, the things that happen around us, the opportunities are transitory, are circumstantial. They come and go. If I miss one here, I may have another one tomorrow or whatever. But the moment we discarnate, the moment we die, those were transitory. Those are gone. They come and go. The virtue that I developed stays. So if we look at the purpose of consumption based on this, we will understand that money is circumstantial. Buying things that we have, they are transitory. My mom usually says that coffins, caixão, don't have drawers. Caixão não tem gaveta. So it doesn't matter how much or how many things I have, I can't take with me. And this helps me understand how to use material things to my advantage. Because we can use them to our physical comfort and not necessarily spiritual advantage. Or we can do both. Yeah. So, the purpose of material things. So when we think, and now we're gonna use a little, Spiritizar jargon. So these are specific words of Projeto Spiritizar. So In the purpose of material things, we have 3 egotistic movements, 3 feelings, actions, situations, movements that are connected to our ego, not to our essential being, but to our ego. And we have the evident egotistic movement. We have 2 evident. One is avarice, avareza, and the other is consumerism. And then we have the masked. The evident is obvious. The masked is the one that doesn't look like it, but it is. And the masked one is prodigality. Holy cow, what's that? Okay, do you know the parable of the prodigal son? Prodigal actually means wasteful, to give away, to spend with no real purpose. That's why it's called parable of the prodigal son. When I was growing up in Brazil, I always thought, when my mother said the prodigal son comes home, I always said, prodigal must be something really good and cool because he goes back home, right?
I thought so.
I thought it was something cool and positive until I started studying spiritism, like, oh, it's not. So it's giving freely without thinking of the consequences. It's wasting, really, okay? So in prodigality, we have too much, and we end up wasting. So when we talk about the 2 opposite ones here would be avarice and prodigality. Avarice, avareza. I want to accumulate. I want more and more and more and more because I am afraid of not having money or things or whatever it is. So when I collect too much, it's because I'm afraid of not having it in the future. Prodigality is the exact opposite. I give it. I just give it. I give it away. I don't have a care in the world, whatever. And why is it a masked bad thing? Because giving looks like it's good. But prodigality is when I give without thinking of the consequences. I give, but I'm not necessarily helping. So I give stuff from my house. Whoever shows up, oh, here, oh, take it, whatever. And it's not even mine. You know, and it's not even mine. I think I need more. Yes, yes, yes. So, you know, I don't need it. And I give away stuff that is not mine, stuff that someone else could use in the future, or something that I might need in the future. But I want to give because I am afraid of having something. Because somewhere in my mind, I think that having things is wrong. I need to get rid of all material things, and that's going to make me spiritual. But I'm not thinking of the consequences of what I'm giving. And then we come to consumerism. Consumerism is the disposable idea. I have this now, if they have a new one, I have to dispose of this one, and I have to get another one, and I need all the newer, the better, and that's the consumerism. It's not giving away, it's I want to have, but I don't fully enjoy what I have, because I always want the next new shiny
Thinking
thing.
about the next move.
Yes, always the next, always the next, always the next. And this is why the 3 of them are negative. And then we come to the essential use of material things, because those are the 2 extremes. And here we come to the essential use, purpose of material things. It's the essential detachment. I have things in order to understand that that's transitory, that's going to go away, and I shouldn't, and I don't have to be attached to things.
I think the most part is like the things I have to not define me. Like, I don't need to have an iPhone in my hand all the time. I don't need to be like the devices, for example,
That's an idea that is widely, like we talk a lot about this. What I see is missing is personal reflection on why. We say it, we society, okay? Society says that, but they don't know why they're saying that. They don't know exactly what it means. It's just, I usually call it bathroom door philosophy. It's what you write down there when you're sitting down and have nothing to do. It's pretty, it looks awesome, but why? Do I understand why? So detachment that comes from the spiritual consciousness of the transitory nature of material things and accomplishments, working in favor of the evolution of the spirit. So I'm going to detach, not because I can't have anything material, because that makes me materialist, I can't. No, I'm going to detach because my conscience understands that this is transitory. That the moment I die, I don't have that anymore. And the more I am attached to material things, the harder a time I'll have when I discarnate, when I die, right? I will be attached to those things. My spirit will be attached to those things. And we just need to understand that they are supposed to work for us. Things work for us, and we work for things.
I work for a living and I don't live for work.
Exactly. All right. Okay, so we are. Oh yeah, we are gonna see what you guys did for us today.
So what we have is this list of what we're supposed to do. So we're supposed to wake up, wake up, have breakfast, watch TV. No, it's wrong. It doesn't watch TV.
Right?
Okay, go to school, and then you leave school, and then you watch TV, finish dinner, go to bed. That's all.
Yay. So this weekend was the last weekend about discipline and self-control, right?
Exactly.
You guys did a great job. Congratulations.
Thank you. There you go. This is for you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna go for the fast, and after. No, we're gonna do final prayer and then the fast.
Yay!
So we're gonna do final prayer and then.